Craig, was that almost perfect footy in the first half?
Yeah, it was good. I don't know about perfect footy, but I thought we got off to a great start. We sort of did that last week, so I think it was a little bit of a carbon copy of that. So like I say, really happy with the way the first half went. Second half, we had to switch a few blokes around again. Couple of injuries and whatever, but it's hard to be critical. Second half probably wasn't great watching for viewers either, to be quite honest. But I thought the first half we were really good, and the boys were ready to go straight away.
And how's Jerome? Obviously didn't play in the second half, and he looked to be in a fair bit of pain when he went out, but then he obviously played out the first half.
Yeah. He was a bit sore at half time. He seemed to think that improved a little bit, but he was keen to play on, but we just thought, with the way the game was, it was probably a good. The best option was to take him off. He was ready to go again if we needed him, but like I say, that we just thought it was the best decision, precautionary, to take him off, and we've got a 5-day turnaround next week and give him the best chance to be ready for Friday night.
What do you do with him from here? Do you get any further medical assessment or?
Yeah, I think he'll probably go for scans, just to make sure. A lot of them, as I said, precautionary. A lot of the time, but as I said, he was. He was in a fair bit of pain early, but it just seemed to get a little bit better as it went on. So hopefully, there's nothing too serious there.
Harry, how did it feel out there? Obviously a massive crowd, a nice day, and some really good footy in that first half.
Yeah, they're the games you want to be a part of. There's a lot of people turn up, Sunday Arvo, AFL's out of town, and school holidays, so that was pleasing, and there was a lot more purple in the crowd than expected. Usually, you get a fair Warriors contingent turn up in Melbourne here, but had a lot of purple in the crowd, which was pleasing, and to put on a performance. I know the second half wasn't pleasing, but we had a lot of changes in that second half, and we probably did a better job than we did last week when we had those changes. So that's a pleasing thing in a sense, but there's still plenty to work on there in terms of our second half, or when we have a lead, or when we do have a few personnel change around, how we adjust and what footy we play on the back of that.
Scores of 56, 38, 48 and 42 this season. Pretty high scoring. You must be pretty pleased with that, Craig.
Yeah, our attack's been fairly sharp and pretty precise, to be quite honest. So that's a real wrap for the team. I still think we can improve, certainly in our defence. So I don't think really when players go off and we change positions, that shouldn't affect our defence too much, but it seems to be doing that. But as I said, I couldn't be, got to be very happy with the way we're attacking, and the players are, getting in position quickly, and they're, putting the plays on that, that we pick out each week. So, like I say, it's been very pleasing, the amount of points we've scored.
What were you thinking in the opening few seconds when Munster? That error there. What was going through your mind then?
Yeah, it wasn't great, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's, mistakes can happen. It's how you defend them, and how you just can't stand around feeling sorry for yourself because you made an error. You've got to get back into it, and that's what he does, and that's what we want all our team to do. Not dwell on the errors, but get on with what we need to do next.
Do you think you'll get Hughes back in time for Friday?
Oh, that's a good question. Like, obviously, the scan, will tell us a little bit. As I said, Jerome was prepared to go back on if we need him. We didn't need him in those circumstances. So, like I say, I'm not quite sure, what the scan's going to show, but we'll see what happens there, and then we'll make the decision from there.
Harry, how important is this game playing for the Michael Moore Trophy, and yeah, obviously this club's had an amazing record over the Warriors in the last decade.
Yeah, it is. It is very important, and the family have been connected to the club since day one, and they've felt that. And obviously, tragic circumstances. And I never knew Mick personally, but I know the family really well. Lived with Georgia, who is his daughter. She moved down here, and she was working for the club, and she was a really good friend of mine. So I know how much that game means to her family. She travelled all the way from London last year to be here for the game. Tracy, Mick's wife, had her mum and dad come down for the game today. So it means a lot for the family, and it means a lot to us as well, because that's Mick's legacy that we're continuing, and it's a real proud part of the club to be able to be connected to the old boys, to Mick, the Moore family, and do him proud with our efforts. And I guess the record shows that it does mean a lot to us.
Do you get the family involved in the lead up to the game, that sort of thing?
Family, old boys. I think we had Ben Rorty through the week talk about Mick and his first impressions and impact that Mick had, and you can learn from those guys, and you got to take a little bit of them on your journey. Mick was someone that really connected the team, but enjoyed doing it and enjoyed the good times too. So it was about taking a little bit of Mick on our journey this week, and I really think we did that with our training and our performance.
Craig, how are you going with Nelson and Will Warbrick? How are they progressing with their...
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty slow process at the moment for both of them. So, again, our hands are tied. They're in the care of the medical department, and they'll make the decision. So, like I say, we're not going to, we can't really, push it along or shorten the journey. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and when they're available, that's when we'll make the decision whether they come back in. But at the moment, they weren't available this week, and we'll see what happens, for the next game.
Craig, you must have been impressed with the game of Trent Loiero. He's really come on in leaps and bounds.
Yeah, he certainly has. I think he made some real improvements last year with his game, and just expanded his game in the things that he could do on the field. He's a really talented kid, but he's a talented athlete too. So we just like the way he's sort of the mixture of his game is this year, with a bit of ball playing, a bit of run. But I think his real area of improvement is, like his footy smarts now. I think he's come a really long way in the last 18 months with that, knowing the game better and knowing his strengths and what he's capable of doing, and what the strengths of the players that the strengths of the players that he's playing with, and he's putting that into his game. So he's been tremendous for us, this year. But I thought he had a great, especially the second half of last year. He was outstanding. So I'd imagine Billy Slater would be
State selection, obviously.
I know obviously he'll be in there, but like I say, I imagine Billy be taking a lot of notice of it, and wouldn't be surprised if he ends up there.